We want to bring you on-the-ground coverage, and we bring in Lucas Koerner, who's an independent journalist and political analyst who is in Venezuela. He works for VenezuelanAnalysis.com. Thanks for joining us, Lucas.
Thanks for having me.
Well, obviously, there is technologically delays. There's all sorts of issues going through. When we reached out to you yesterday, this morning, actually, you were in line for water. Tell us what exactly is going on the ground today with the citizens of Venezuela.
Sure. As of yesterday, power was finally restored to the western states of Mérida and Zulia, which were without power for almost 70 hours. So right as of now, all of the country states have power, though in different parts there remains to be issues. So it's definitely not a uniform restoration of power. At the same time, in Caracas, given the power outage, the TUI pump system, which in the southeast of Caracas has been inoperational, and they're trying to bring it back online. So right now, at this time, there is not running water in Caracas, though the government says that within the next few hours, water will return. So I was in a line near my apartment where local community volunteers were distributing water. Again, important shows of solidarity. I think that contrary to the kind of narrative of this post-apocalyptic kind of Mad Max situation, while things have been very chaotic, definitely you have not seen great outbreaks of violence. There have been some isolated cases of looting, but largely things have been very calm in Caracas. And I think that if you were to compare, I was quite surprised in many other Latin American capitals, 2 days without electricity, you would see utter chaos. You would see looting throughout, serious issues of violence here, and let alone with an economic crisis like Venezuela's, things have been very calm.
Well, Lucas, yes, things are very, very calm. And this is a nation that is used to having power outages, not necessarily the water issues that they're facing today. Do you think, however, it is working in some form of changing the tone of people? Are people getting tired and fed up and looking for some sort of relief, regardless of whoever brings it? Is these kinds of activities actually working to persuade the people to one side of the opinion or the other?
I mean, without a doubt that, Venezuela is under siege right now. And, obviously, we don't know what was the cause of this power outage. Obviously, there are long-standing issues of underinvestment and lack of maintenance, though whether that itself caused the massive power outage remains to be determined. But sanctions have definitely played a role in debilitating Venezuela's electrical system, as the New York Times reported, preventing the backup generators from having enough fuel to power the system. And, definitely the economic crisis, which is very deep. And certainly, yes, there's a government responsibility for that mismanagement. But the U.S. sanctions, are definitely exacerbating that crisis and really increasing the suffering of the people here. And, in an attempt to, very explicitly from the mouths of Marco Rubio and Mike Pompeo to oust this guy and Juan Guaidó, as you reported earlier, that there will be light when Maduro falls. So there definitely is a kind of a strangulation of the Venezuelan population in order to topple the government.
Yes, it's interesting who provides the rope for that strangulation, if they can actually be held accountable for it. So now we look at the National Assembly yesterday approved a state of alarm. And while power, like you said, in Caracas has mostly been restored, talk to me about the rest of the country outside of Caracas. What does this state of alarm mean for those on the ground there?
It's difficult to tell because power still in many areas has not been restored. So reports are just coming in. In Maracaibo in the west on the border with Colombia, there was much more widespread looting, and there was definitely more instability there. But largely, we don't know what is the issue with the health situation in the hospitals. So far, as of Sunday evening, NGO Doctors for Health reported around 21 deaths in hospitals, which contradicted the opposition's claim of over 70. We haven't seen official figures. So definitely life remains, very challenging with, lack of access to electricity and water, though it's important to recognize that Venezuelans, these are longstanding problems of difficulties of accessing both water and periodic blackouts, particularly in the west of the country. So there is definitely, Venezuelans are used to these situations and, are very resilient in confronting them.
Lucas, how are the Venezuelans able to get their news right now? Obviously, there's a lot of hurdles they have to overcome. Are they trying to get as much news as possible? Are they paying attention? But more importantly, how are they able to access news right now? Is it via the phones? Is it via radio? Where are most Venezuelans paying attention to?
Well, with beginning on the period of Thursday through Friday, there was a total national blackout, in which no one get any news. But following that, with the restoration of power in most of the country, all through social media, through television, radio, all the normal media are functioning, and Venezuelans are able to get their news. And there's a Venezuela, contrary to the establishment kind of perspective that Venezuela is a dictatorship and there's only pro-government channels. Or actually, the most watched channels in Venezuela are pro-opposition channels, anti-government channels. Likewise, social media tends to be much more anti-government. So there definitely is a wide spectrum of opinions in the media in Venezuela.
Well, going forward, are you seeing things start to get a little bit better? Is any relief that's supposedly being provided by various countries to Venezuela, is it actually getting to the ground? Are people actually getting at least some sort of help in some way?
Well, we're seeing the government is commissioning tankers to provide water to hospitals and other institutions. And I mean, likewise, we saw that the Russian government was delivering aid and medicine as of a few weeks ago. And then there's been other efforts with the European Union to negotiate a multi-billion-dollar aid package, so that has not been completely confirmed. So they're definitely, and again, it's important to note that the UN and the International Red Cross and other international humanitarian organizations maintain ongoing missions here within using official channels, not attempting to force humanitarian aid in a way that politicizes it in an attempt to oust the government, as the United States attempted on February 23rd, and the United Nations and the Red Cross denounced, along with many other human rights organizations.
Well, thank you so much, Lucas, for your continuing coverage and your continuing diligence there in the streets of Caracas.